Good morning, I believe, to all of those Moogles, Chocobos, and Tonberries out there. My name's Ravlin, and I am here with Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide, an open-world randomizer for Final Fantasy VI. My goal is going to be to recruit 7 characters and 10 Espers in order to enter Kefka's tower and defeat the Mad Clown himself. While I'm doing this, I'm going to let Keith McRocks and Radio Guy PDX do most of the talking for me so I can actually focus on what I'm supposed to be doing.
Awesome. Hey, Ravlin, this is Radio Guy here.
And I'm Keith.
All right, and we'll go in 3, 2, 1, go.
Alrighty, so this is a very, very fun randomizer done as an open world of Final Fantasy VI. It was released as Final Fantasy III in America, Final Fantasy VI internationally. The way that it works is we basically have taken a lot of the story aspects out of this game and instead have made it so that you have to collect either a certain amount of characters, a certain amount of Espers, or kill a certain amount of dragons in order to go to Kefka's tower and kill the clown. So for us, this is more of our general, I would say our regular flag as far as requirements go. 7 characters, 10 Espers, and you'll see if you're new to it but you happen to know Final Fantasy VI, basically where all those story elements typically take place are going to be where we're going to find a reward of some sort, whether it be one of the things we're looking for or possibly a high tier item.
One, we have 2 that we've picked to start. So Realm and Edgar are the starters. He has now gone up to do a quick check, which has become popular for a spot people don't always enjoy going to, but there is a character, Cyan, up there, so that is something that he is going to make note of and keep that in his back pocket.
That is the Kefka Narsh spot, a really main plot point in the original point of the game, near the beginning of the game. Basically, you want to have more characters there because you are forced to split your party in 2, which means you have to basically be able to go kill the boss at the bottom, whatever it may be, being a randomizer, with only 1 character at this point in the game. So that's not something we're going to want to do now, but we know it's a character which could lead us to further progression.
Yes, and given the set of characters, there are other choices that are in the mix. So at this point, we're going to see a lot of roaming around, looking for treasure chests to see what he can find, checking out shops to see what is in there, because those are also randomized. So he's going to look for anything that's worth coming back to save up for, or just things that are good to get in general in the beginning, or just over the course of the run. Things like these items possibly, or just things of note.
Yeah, for your items early on, you're looking for your Phoenix Downs and your potions, your early healing, and also maybe a Mega Elixir for sale, you never know. So yeah, kind of just getting a gauge of what's in the shops, doing what I call like the treasure hunt to start the game, where you're just going to go for a lot of chests, a lot of treasure, hopefully find something really good. Narsh is a good spot to start at. Not to presume, but I imagine South Figaro's coming up next.
Looks like that is the case.
Just roll on by it.
Yeah. And also, the color palettes have been randomized. I really enjoy Edgar's black and purple motif, actually.
I think it looks even more royal than his usual color scheme.
His purple is a very regal color. So still checking more shops. A big one, too, is just to note if there's just that one... There's a couple items that are of note, like in most games. So he's making note and then either seeing if he has the funds for it or just keeping that in the back of the mind to hopefully come back and find it after they can sell some things.
It can be really hard to keep things in mind. There's a lot of towns in this game. There's a lot of shops in this game, different shop that it can be very confusing. So really in the early game like this, it's good to make a mental note. If you come across something and you're like, it's 50,000 gold. I can't pay for that right now. To at least remember where that is, because you can make that gold in almost no time.
Yes, and for anyone who's not played the game, and which you will see at some point, there are two worlds, because the game is split in two halves of Balance and Ruin, and the town's shops are different in each one, so that multiplies the options is further ahead.
And the cool thing you might not have noticed, well, actually, I'm sure you have at this point, because we've at least gone in and flown in it once, is we do start with the airship in this randomizer. And the airship also serves as a service path between the World of Balance and World of Ruin. That is how you can go back and forth and time travel, if you would, in the randomizer to go back and forth at will.
Yeah, makes things a lot easier. Being able to move quickly, so it's not as much about traveling, it's more just picking your spots and basically playing off of what you find, because every check has different results or different possibilities, from characters to Espers to the items that usually are worthwhile, so as you're amassing these. So we'll see how far he goes treasure hunting before we start to see a check involved.
Well, and it's going to be interesting to see which check Ravlin goes for to start, mainly because this is actually a progression times 3 seed. So what that means is all of the enemies right now, we have 2 characters, and it's progression times 3, which means all the enemies are level 6, give or take a level or 2. And with progression times 3, as soon as we get something else, then those are all going to be level 9. So things are going to progress quickly. So there is a free check available to us where we don't have to kill a boss. We can do that, or we can go and try and kill a boss while the levels are still low. It all depends on Ravlin's strategy once we start getting that to that spot.
Yep, and now we're into the World of Ruin, so South Figaro, again. But the items that are outside are restocked. So these are different. Same city, just some different items. The items that are inside do not. But so we'll see if he starts to... another thing to know in this town is that Edgar is the king of Figaro, and he gets a discount at these shops. So it's generally, if you have Edgar, you're going to head here. He also gets a discount inside his castle.
Yep, this is a good example of what Keith mentioned earlier of all the shops are now have different inventory. We've already been into these shops in the World of Balance, but they're different now in the World of Ruin.
Notice he found a Genji helmet there, which is not like one of the best, but it's it's a great item to find. Oh, we have Aura Lance. Always something good to see. Especially
if he can get Dragoon strats going, because you know that Edgar can equip a lance, and so if you get him Dragoon with Dragoon boots, you can have him swinging for massive damage early on.
Yeah, all items are what they originally could equip, but there are some extra ones that can get thrown in there. But yes, Edgar is known to be that one. We have some dried meat, so that's good. Dried meat is used for a specific check with one of the characters, Gao, but it's only found in around 4 shops, so finding that and buying it just to have on hand is always something people do.
You may also notice that Ravlin kind of indiscriminately is buying a 10 stack or 11 stack of items at this item shop. I believe, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, but he's taking advantage of the price that he gets for the items in this item shop because of Edgar's 50% discount, and buying a bunch of them because he's going to take us somewhere where we might be able to turn these items into very, very, very good items.
One can hope, but I make no promises as to what's actually going to appear here. It could be anything.
It's a big could be, but there's basically it's taking advantage, getting half off on all the prices, and we're going to see if we can turn 11 of one thing into an unnecessary 11 of something really, really good.
We shall see.
For those who know the vanilla game, but not necessarily any of the randomizers, this is the Dragon's Neck Coliseum. This place kind of sucks in vanilla, just gonna say, just because you get sneezed out of almost all the battles if you don't know what you're going up against. But the way that we have it in this randomizer is we aren't necessarily going to see what we're going to fight against. There's not nearly as many coupons, but we are going to see what the reward is for winning.
And in this setup, all items are. There's no mystery at all. Oh, wow.
There's so much good stuff. So that Ice Rod's great, the Genji Glove's great, the Ragnarok's great. Just for starting, just for 2 towns worth, this is amazing. Potions, oh, this is nice.
Especially for the items giving up are just very generic, basic items. So it's...
This looks to be semi-forgiving, except Edgar's got Runic, so he's going to sit in Runic for a little bit, but that's okay.
So for anyone who doesn't seen a fight, you don't control anything, and any command is open, so he can just, he could just keep flashing his Runic. So we will see how this plays out, but I'm still going.
No, oh no, come on, Edgar, or Venny.
So Vomammoths are some of the original, like the first enemies you fight in the game in like Narsh, and they're level 1 base. But here they're actually level 3. No, they're level 6, so they're harder than they are in the base game because of that. Well,
not really what you want to run into there, I guess. But I imagine we're not really going to go anywhere. We're going to heal Edgar up and get back in there, or just send Realm in.
Her other option is Pummel, so at least she'll constantly... Well, never mind.
So the Runic Blade that Venny keeps flashing absorbs magic, but the Blizzard attack is not magic. It is just an area effect, if you will. So it does not count for that. So.
I'm going to come back to this later.
We know it's good. There's definitely good stuff here, but we can see if we can progress a little bit, get a little bit stronger, get some good abilities or something, and then come back and try and use those in the Coliseum. Looks like more shopping.
Colligan, there's sometimes some treasure, but mostly just shopping around this one to see if there's something that will help increase some stats.
I think the only treasure chest in here is going to be in the back of Rachel's house.
There are 2. The mayor's house in the upper left in the clock. They're actually I didn't know that forever. I find out different treasure chests from every time I watch somebody. There are treasure chests just everywhere. Clocks are very common. People hide everything inside their clocks.
Well, they typically had them full of elixirs for some reason, but yes.
Must be that it used to oil the clocks or something. Very important, though. People like keeping time.
Looks like we're running around looking for a decent weapon. I'm not sure if we've really picked up anything really worthwhile yet as far as attack power goes. So.
Now we saw an Aura Lance, and that was the biggest thing that we've it's been around. For the old man Ghost to get out of the way.
Oh, you found a rename card.
Actually, it is worth buying that rename card to bet in the Coliseum on something good.
Yeah.
For 11 gold, it's not bad.
Yeah.
Really, I'm hoping to find a breakable rod or 2 or a super ball somewhere just to get me a battle or 2 to get out of level 3. Honestly, level 3 when you start out is really rough.
There's probably only about 30% of bosses that you'd be happy to run into at level 3. There's not many, and most of those that you're even happy to run into in Ultros or something like that can still take you out if you don't have good enough equipment. And so we're kind of looking for rods. Rods are great. Basically, what they do is they cast a level 2 spell at its max damage compared to your magic power, and they're very reliable, and they're available in shops if we can find them.
Yes, from what I saw, I believe rods are the only things. No shields and no super balls from the flags I saw. But yes, rods always popular.
Rods are great because they're usually right around 3,000 gold a pop, and you know you're going to get that value. I mean, really, if you can sell out for really good value for rods.
Yeah. Oh, what's the black markets have for sale? 28k from the mysterious man in the woods for something is probably in the middle ground, but you're gonna have to save up for that. The good thing is that when you see him in the world of balance, it's a different price, and he'll tell you if it's what does he say, shiny stone, I believe, or if it's a esper.
Yeah, he tells you if it's an Esper or not, which basically tells you it either comes out of the really good item pool or it's an Espers, are the two possibilities for that guy. So, Ravlin checking in the world of World of Ruin, seeing it's pretty spendy and doesn't know what he's going to get, so he's probably going to check the world of balance eventually and see if it's worth it.
More shopping. One of my favorite items, the warp stone.
Oh, I
many
totally
times
missed those.
you do the
Whoops.
But yeah, warp stones being a great thing to for some areas that you go into and it takes a long time, it warps you out back to the beginning and you don't have to do the walk of shame out of some checks.
That NPC just turned into an Amaro.
That is one of our April Fool's flags.
The April Fool flag
is the ability to fiddle with the NPCs, and if they're getting in my way, they're getting changed.
Ooh.
So basically, if you see a regular character kind of show up out of nowhere, that's Ravlin's doing.
Yeah, so this is another popular place. Albrecht has a lot of chests that you can grab. He found a ribbon. I enjoy ribbons. They protect you from all status ailments. So in a pinch, and especially if you find a cursed shield, possibly eventually down the line, very helpful to have. I actually use it a lot in the end of the game just because I hate status ailments.
It's useful in general, especially if you end up running up against a boss like Inferno or the Stooges, who like to delta hit you. It does protect you from being petrified.
So a trip to the returner side. Very early on in the vanilla game, they like to the anti-empire side, but they have a lot of treasure in there. Very common. A lot of very low-level loot, too.
And they have a lot of treasure, but none of it that I like. Get out of the way!
Yeah, this guy's one of my least favorite chancellors. Yeah, no, this is a nice concentrated area. I think of like 8 or 9 chests and a shop. Really nice spot to hit early on. Although nothing super good right now.
I am less than impressed with my shops and chests thus far.
Yeah, the early Orlance got the eyes peeled, man. That's that was the pinnacle of it.
I don't want to tell you how to run your race, but I'm just saying, like, Ragnarok's in the Coliseum.
Runic wasn't doing it for him.
So. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So one thing I am going to do here is I'm going to see what the free check is going to give me. If it's something worthwhile, I might keep it. I might not. Oh, that's a hard choice.
Natural
vanilla.
Natural magic is nice to see.
Natural magic and his dancing. Dance, not always a very popular option, but
It's more consistent than it used to be. The nice thing about dance now is we make it so that they never stumble.
It does make for a really fun Coliseum.
No, not really.
So this is Edgar's castle, so he does get discounts inside here, even though the guy does not want to take his money, but he'll take it.
He's got a family.
He does. So there was a wing edge in one of those chests. It's not. It's nice to find early because it can instant death if you can equip it and use it. So another thing helpful early if it works out for you if you can equip it. But
And Greatest, which is looked at as one of the least favorite weapons, I think, amongst the community.
The pearl element in general is not well liked, because a distressing number of things absorb the holy element.
The nice thing, at least about the Aura Lance, is you might think it might be holy, but it does have a chance to proc Pearl or holy. But luckily, I don't believe it deals holy damage. It deals non-elemental damage. The Pearl Lance, on the other hand, is the other one that does heal things that are Pearl resistant. Let's see what we have. That's okay.
Do I not have Pummel yet? I
should
don't
always
have
have
Pummel yet.
find out.
So we're taking a couple levels here to get an early advantage, get some levels since we picked up Mog. Mog's going to put the enemies at level 9, and we're going to want some extra XP here before we fight another boss. Pummel, I guess maybe you don't learn till... There it is. Now you know it.
Hey guys, can I come in real quick?
Absolutely.
Of course.
Alright, I just want to remind everyone again that right after this run, we've got the Yakuza Ishin run, and I think we've got a bit of more time for the incentive, but if we do meet the incentive for the Yakuza Ishin run, then Bilara will show us some few fun minigames the game has to offer, which includes a bit of singing, so if you want to hear some crazy Japanese songs, then get your money in for that. Or alternatively, you could also donate towards the Skyward Sword Randomizer entrance rando. I would really like to see that happen. If you want to see me frustrate over even more RNG and how bad my rando does not like me, then get your donations in for that. Thank you. Back to you guys.
I do want to add, if anyone does a runner's choice donation, I would put it towards whatever the next incentive is, so that incentive that you just mentioned.
I will say that entrance randomizer sounds fun.
Okay, I feel a little better now. All right,
Levels to 13 is definitely preferred.
Yep, I'm gonna make a salty run back to that Coliseum here and see if I can do something a little bit better now. Because I want those Ragnaroks. I don't know about y'all.
Too good to pass up the second best weapon in the game, really.
And if you can get enough of them, you probably also take a crack at the Genji gloves.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Genji glove allowing you to equip 2 weapons. So, double Ragnaroks. Also great.
It also does depend on who can equip the Ragnaroks, though. I do believe we have original on, so we know Edgar will be able to equip them.
Ooh. Well, that dancing worked.
Sneaky, sneaky mug.
Antlion.
Moogles are very sneaky. This is like rolling the dice, though. This is very, very interesting to see what dances Mog ends up doing.
Ow.
Bear claw.
Wild bear.
Just heal up from that bear claw.
You do you, Mog. It's all up to you now.
Chat's a really big fan of the dancing. A lot of fans. It's helpful that he's so over-leveled compared to the mammoth, so take it.
Yeah, he's not going to take too much damage and hopefully be able to do enough and not cast Wild Bear too much.
So we have the dance abilities shuffled, and I think Wild Bear was in one of the top slots. So, you know, about a 50% chance every time to Wild Bear, which, you know, if I can remember that the Desert Aria has Wild Bear, that could be my good healing for the entire seed.
Yeah, Wild Bear is one of the better, it's, I would say, probably the best dance healing that you can do. It'll heal your entire party for, as you can see, a massive amount.
All right, I'm going to do one more now, and then if I need more Ragnaroks later, I'll come back for it.
Everyone can equip it. Great, great.
Having these will definitely help our boss fights moving forward.
More healing. More bear claw.
Wump. How much HP do these supposedly level 1 enemies, which are now level 9 plus or minus, have? Good lord.
I have seen a fair amount of chatter about these Vomammoths in the Discord where, yeah, it is scary. So.
Oops. Don't like walk completely away. So we're just gonna equip everyone up there, take a save, and let's actually go do some stuff.
Well, you found a Mog. I mean, come on.
But where to? We've got quite a few options available to us. Looks like a little Owzer's house, Owzer's mansion.
So while I go in here, why don't you guys let people know like what the other options I have available to me are, you know, once I get out of this area.
So if you're familiar with, go for it.
All right, so the specific characters, Marg is the easy one because he does not open up a ton. He basically is where you find him, the Lone Wolf check, which is just past Kefka at Nar, so it tends to be popular in that regard because it helps that you can do both. All you need to do, though, is walk up there, so it's a free check, so that's a great option. Also in the World of Balance, the Kefka at Nar we spoke of, where Cyan is hanging out, and then there's the Esper Mountain, where one of Realms checks, where she is hanging about, sneaking about, in the Esper Mountain near Thamasa. A quick one to get into, and that could be anything in there. And then otherwise he could still peek the Sen Thief in World of Balance to see what is there. And then World of Ruin, he has the always available Tritalk check, which is in that section of Narsh if you go all the way deep into the caves, but not characters, no characters there, just Espers and items. So Owser's Mansion, being another for Realm, you could randomly find Doomgaze flying around, which is the Doomgaze check, where he just is flying around. So the airship, if you're flying around, you can run into, and it would be a random boss. That does give you an Esper and item. And then the last two linked for Edgar. In the World of Ruin, the castle, which has the ability to submerge itself, is stuck underground. So you can go in through the caves and make your way into the basement to free the castle and find a check there for anything. And then subsequently you can go deeper into the caves to find the ancient castle, where you can also find any of the options down there. Whew.
Lots available.
Also the auction house, ever popular. If you want to just go buy some Espers.
For anyone who may not be familiar with Worlds Collide, but again are familiar with the original game, you may notice that we're talking about certain points that are specific to certain characters. For example, one of Realm's check, where we are now, Owser's Mansion, is where you find Realm as long as you save Shadow on the Floating Continent. So this is tied specifically to her, so the developer, Atmotech, has made it so that you need her in order to go do their story checks. For example, Edgar, when you go into the World of Ruin, you have to go down to the underground castle, free it, and then go to the ancient castle. And those are individually Edgar's checks, so you need Edgar to do those checks.
So as he's made it to the end of Owser's Mansion, you can see who's painting the picture, which is normally Realm, but it is just a general soldier, so you know it's not going to be a character. Still could be something useful. Always great to see number 024, who's in the Magitech factory. So he is one of the earlier bosses, and generally not one that frightens anyone, especially at this level.
No, I was so busy talking, I only saw the sprite, so I was slightly worried for a second that we might have run across Magic Master. But nope, just his little brother.
We don't want to see Magic Master yet. And now we have Venny jumping with that, I assume that's that Aura Lance. So if you jump into the air and then land down. And if you have a lance equipped, it's 1.5 damage. So it's ideal to have just a pointy object landing on somebody.
Taking that with no problem. We're luckily able to avoid the overflow, which would have muddled our characters and confused them, which could have gotten dangerous.
More Ragnarok.
Our first Esper.
Not terrible, nothing to write home about, but, I'll take it.
You'll take a Fire 2, useful to have on hand. Something of note. If you didn't have Warp Stones, the Warp Spell would be great, but in this case, not the best. But Fire 2 is something, it's better than nothing, but Ragnarok's and a Flare proc from a Ragnarok, generally more ideal.
And another thing we're going to be looking out for when we get Espers is at the very bottom, there's usually an Esper bonus, whether it be a Magic Power +1, Magic Power +2, HP +50%. We're going to be on the lookout for those. Those are wonderful to see. Unfortunately, Ragnarok, the Esper we just got, doesn't have one.
So now into the cave. This is the cave near South Figaro, which is the caves that lead into the basement of Figaro Castle. This is the one we spoke of because it is stuck underground by tentacles, oddly enough.
Yeah,
Nice.
Somehow tentacles clogged up an engine. I'm not quite sure about that one.
Oh, I guess this is actually makes very good sense in the story that his brother Sabin is trying to save the castle.
This is one of the many checks that we consider peekable. You can see what the reward is ahead of time, and Sabin's going to open up a whole bunch of checks for me, so I'm always happy to see him.
Yeah, Sabin's one of 2 characters that have 5 checks that they unlock. With his being, they're going to I'll at least run him down real quick before we get him. We have Barren Falls. We have the Imperial Camp. A lot of these are going to be in the scenario that you do with Shadow and getting Cyan in the vanilla game. But Barren Falls, Imperial Camp, Mount Colts, the Phantom Train, and then the Collapsing House. The first 4 that I mentioned are in the World of Balance, the Collapsing House, and the World of Ruin.
And the other nice thing is most of them are fairly quick, so you don't have to worry about investing a huge amount of time and not finding something good at the end. Oh, really? We're gonna do this?
This is a statue.
A goddess. So, not one of... And the music kind of gives it away. Not one you want to find pretty much most of the time in the game. Unless you're just ridiculously overpowered. Yeah.
Yeah, Goddess is dangerous. Basically, you lose the ability to fight in this fight. If you use the fight command, she will then love token your character, which means that love token character will then block all fight commands for her unless you have an offering. But we don't have one of those. So we've got to find other ways. We also can't use Thunder, and we can't use Pearl against her.
So the Fire Dance Blitz command is helpful, the jumping helps, and then just Mog dancing, or just keep using Wild Bear, as we find out. But helpful nonetheless.
We're just going to hope that Aura Lance doesn't proc a Pearl or anything. Does it proc Pearl?
I think you've mixed that up with the Pearl Lance.
Pearl Lance.
Yes.
He's safe with the Aura Lance. Yes, the Cockatrice, which is not helpful against a boss, because regular enemies usually it's a lot more successful. But
that was actually a bit easier than it could have been. That was fairly smooth. Well done, Ravlin.
Thank you. I was a little concerned for a minute there.
Definitely not what you want to see in your first handful of bosses, but handled very well. And we've got a full party now. He's got capture, which is not something we really want to see.
And does he have natural magic, I believe? Or it looked like it already was there.
If you're wondering, so Mog has natural magic. We've got that natural tag there. And Edgar has natural magic. So those are the only 2 for the seed. But that reminds... Menuing.
See, what?
Final boss is actually menus. Might as well put spells on Sabin.
We're going to throw that Ragnarok Esper around a little bit, get everybody learning Fire too. Nothing wrong with that.
And at a times 15, it's going to be very quick. So, easily get that moved around.
So the Ancient Castle is somewhere we could go now that we have freed the castle. The Ancient Castle is in the path to Cullingan, yep, and it looks like that's where we're headed. This is also another free check. You don't have to fight a boss to get the reward. However, there is one of the 8 legendary dragons hanging out down here. But they are, I believe, I'm not sure, are they scaled or unscaled?
They scaled flags I had, so not obviously the better of the 2 options at this point. So the Ancient Castle, the other weird thing is you can't warp out of it either, so you can always technically you can peek it, but yeah, it's a rough one in that you gotta walk your way out of it. But there is a lot of treasure down here as well. and you're hoping that the good treasure is somewhere. So far we haven't found it.
Yeah, I guess it kind of makes sense. You've taken the castle down here, it'd then be stuck in the sand if you just warped out. It's at a different spot than it was before. So it looks like Ravlin's taking the save here, which leads me to believe we're going to try and down this dragon down here. There's also a monster in a box here, but we don't typically go for those. There's really only one or two good things that you can really get from them, and a lot of the bosses you have to fight for them are headaches, but we'll check it out.
Well, it's worth a show.
Certainly not what I was hoping for.
Megazerk.
I forgot to equip Sabin. Here, Sabin, hold this Ragnarok for me.
So apparently Ragnaroks are very popular in this one.
Everyone knows about those.
Nothing worse than if you did find those at the Coliseum and then no one wanted to actually use it.
Oh, I've been there.
Still, a ton of great items.
Yeah, nothing super good down here. But the cool thing is about this dragon is if we can down it, we will get the drop that the dragon normally drops, which is usually a pretty good item, because you typically don't fight them until the end of the game. But then we'll also get another item from the high item pool.
No,
that is not great.
X zone and no bonus, so a blue dragon. Huh. Somewhere in the middle ground, generally on the dragons. Not the worst to see.
No, not the best, but not the worst. It's going to do a lot of multi-target attacking, so a lot of your party's going to take some damage here. If only if we had access to Thunder Rods, we could have made this a bit good.
So another element that people, if you're familiar with the game, you may notice a lot of different things. The enemies have a different pool to pull from. This scaling that we use, this elemental scaling. So if they're lower level, they might use a similar, like if it was a fire related spell, they're going to use a lower tiered one, but if they get stronger, they'll use a stronger version of that. So you might see some very different things from some of these enemies and bosses.
It does get a little surprising, you know, when Tunnel Armor casts Gigavolt on you instead of Bolt 1. As a totally random example that hasn't happened to me and made me very sad in the past.
Ever.
I've just had a lot of enemies just start throwing fire schemes at me, and you can't block them. So it's very shocking the first time you come across stuff like that.
So we got an economizer from that dragon. A very useful item in its own right, especially in vanilla. We aren't too... It's kind of indifferent for a lot of people. We heal usually so much, or use like springs to replenish our magic quite often in between boss fights. So we're kind of indiscriminate with our magic power. Or our magic points, not magic power, sorry.
Yeah, in the right situation, depending on what your pool is, you'll gladly have it. So it's something to have, or you probably sell it for a lot of money.
Don't get me wrong, if I've got gem boxes and I know Ultima, I mean, that's 2 Ultimas for 2 MP.
We have Edgar's last discounted shops. Still getting use out of this.
Very true. Final Kefka, especially when you're going through all 4 tiers, it can be very handy if you don't necessarily have elixirs or mega elixirs or anything like that to conserve your magic points.
with our settings, it was possible to find something like Mega Elixirs for a discounted sale at one of these shops, but no such luck. The seed is not being, other than those Ragnaroks, particularly kind.
Alright, so now onward into something more new. Most likely into many options still, many options still on this. As we're at 4 characters, 2 Espers, so working the way. Need a good amount of Espers for this one. So the collapsing house. So early into the
Get
world
out of my way!
Ruin. Early in the world of Ruin, just to it keeps seeing these characters keep changing is very odd. So the collapsing house you find early when you first get to the world of Ruin. Sabin is usually holding up that house, but there's a lot of treasure in here. There's a couple monster in the boxes that you can easily avoid if you would like to do, because this house is on a timer that you see, but you're mainly just trying to save this this boy from getting crushed by the house. So you have plenty of time generally just to run in, grab a few things, grab him, and then get out.
Yes, and starting with 3 Moogle charms on every seed is a time saver and a half.
I didn't see her at first because of the hair color change, but now I know who it is. So another opening many checks.
This kind of blows the seed open. Tara's the other character with 5 checks.
Ooh, rage. Take a peek. So rage, normally Gao's ability, where you can basically take on personas of other enemies, and she starts with a random set, so it can be interesting to remember all of them because there are a lot.
Yeah, she only starts with between 5 and 20, so not going to have a whole lot of them available to us.
And no stray cat, but...
No stray cat. Yeah, generally it's just looking for stray cat.
And why is stray cat so good?
So stray cat, basically it will have... They usually have a couple things, but when stray cat attacks, it's a 4x. 4 times your normal. So, quite useful if you can get it. I generally have a short list of a couple of them that I look for because I'm trying to remember them all, but that's the easy one to remember now.
Yeah, that cat scratch ability is so good.
So there's a couple other ones. Even a gold bear is a 2.5, which is always helpful, especially if it was an early on. But
alrighty, we're headed to another free check, but this free check comes with all the treasure. This is the sealed gate that is unlocked via Terra. So we get to unlock this room as well as go into the sealed gate, which is full of treasure. Basically, I always like to, yeah, that dragon horn's good.
That's a quick one.
That's... I always, at least what I've been trying to do lately is if I get Terra early in a seed, like I'll try and hold off on Colosseum just to try and get Terra, and then I'll get all these chests and take them to the Colosseum and see what they give me.
A random Celeste showing up there because everyone's getting in the way. So for those who don't know, the dragon horn that we've now equipped, so the along with the Aura Lance on Edgar, he has Dragoon boots that allow him to jump, and the dragon horn allows him to bounce up and down. So he has the ability to repeat the jump up to 4 times. So basically making him an ultimate Dragoon.
Yeah, with no loss on damage, so it's literally between 2 and 4 attacks for 1. And plus, he's nice and protected when he's jumped up in the air. He can't die up there.
Yeah, the NPCs are really just the final boss. They're always in the way. They don't want to get out of the way. But at least you can make them change. It doesn't change the movement, at least.
That's fun. That was something that was just added yesterday.
Yeah.
So this cave has a lot of things, and most of them is very skippable.
One of my favorite parts about this particular randomizer versus some of the other randomizers that I've played is that right now I have something like 13 to 14 options available to me on where to go and like what to take on next to try to find my progression. So if you and I were both playing the same seed, we would not necessarily have the same experience because you might make different choices and find different characters than I do.
Because instead of doing this, someone who's doing the same seed could be going off and doing some of Saban's checks or checking what Mog's check is. And if that's another character, that's a whole nother branch of possibilities that we haven't even delved into yet. So there's always kind of multiple ways to go through. It's very, I wouldn't say very rare, but I'd say it's rare that a seed is extremely linear and everyone does kind of the same thing.
Wow, the Espers are not being kind. Not great magic, not great bonuses, but...
I mean, break and X zone could possibly help at some point, maybe. That General Leo's in an M-Tech armor.
Granted, they have not been dead checks, so always helpful. Progression still moving, so they're up to level 24, I believe. So it's getting
and
there.
I am staying just what I don't like that chest. Why am I doing that? I'm staying just ahead of them.
Yeah, the chest that involves kicking and yelling.
Do we have a moment?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, perfect. I just want to remind everybody that you are watching SpeedCon, and SpeedCon is usually an on-site marathon held in Potsdam in Germany. However, unfortunately, due to the COVID crisis, we are holding our events online, and we really hope that we can hold some on-site events again soon. But until then, we are having this these online events. Oh my god! And yeah, if you want to keep up with us, follow us on Twitter at SpeedCon_EU to get news, to stay up to date with all the latest news and stuff. So yeah, back to you guys.
Awesome.
Imperial Camp, where early on in Saban's journey we find another statue. Probably the best of the statues for most people. Oh wow, no pro element, not the best crush, but probably the best one to find out of the bunch. The bosses in this one are random, so you can actually encounter the same ones multiple times. They're not just shuffled, so it's possible to see a lot of things again.
This is also not a boss spot. This is just a fixed encounter location.
This is the fixed... Oh,
exactly.
So yeah, there is a random percentage. The regular battles, there can't be bosses, but fixed encounters in some of these checks, yes, they can be. Can be the
means
same.
We might be running into another Doom right now.
Does anyone have cure? No, we don't. Okay, fine.
you're curing is Wild Bear. Ooh,
Yeah, great.
Much
that's
better.
for the sneezers.
So the progression system being progression times 3 is sort of a double-edged sword. It makes for often a more challenging early game, but then you end up gaining a lot of levels fairly quickly because your enemies give you more XP as you go on. So this has ended up making the mid-game of this seed a little bit easier than it would necessarily be otherwise, because I'm gaining more levels because my enemies are stronger. Which is one of the reasons I feel very powerful right now. And did I just summon a curing spell by asking for it?
Oh, the natural.
I'd rather be lucky than good.
It's spendy, but we'll take it.
Pseudo armor. Oh. Well, that was a lot better than. I guess. Well, at this point, if it was Doom every time, that would have been great experience. But
Absolutely.
and what do we have at the end? Oh, Magicite.
Maybe useful.
Why? Why are you so bad?
Shell.
Oh, yummy.
Shell. Huh. Ugh. Not kind. Not kind. Oof. Well, at least the natural magic was kind.
Alrighty.
Heading over to the falls, because, you know, when you come to a waterfall, why not jump down it?
I mean, there's nowhere else to go.
That's
You've
true.
got a haunted forest behind you.
Yeah. Why not?
This also gives us a free heal going into the fights, which is nice.
Really?
Another goddess.
More statues. Oops, all statues.
At least we've got Ragnarok, so those will at least get through until she love charms somebody.
That, we've got the dragon horn, we've got Mog dancing around healing everybody. Some fire. Some good comments in the chat on this. I like this.
Absolutely, I love it. Rewarded your faith.
Goddess is the lowest HP of the statues, so it could be worse.
Yeah. Yes. We haven't seen that third statue anywhere.
The third statue, Poltergeist, being a particular meme in our community. The spicy chicken. And if he appears on screen, I think you will all understand why we call him the spicy or the fire chicken.
No one came to help you. You just found Odin.
Any good spells? Eh? Eh?
Eh,
A medium range magic.
speed isn't great. So this is another one of the checks that we can preview what we're going to get. We're going to walk onto the train, and then if see Ravlin take a right, and we'll be able to see if it's going to be a character or if it's going to be an Esper or item.
Nope.
It's an item. We're not
It's an
hanging.
item. Bye.
There are items I would have stayed for. A Genji helmet is not one of them.
Especially because the Genji helmet was found in a chest earlier.
And helmets aren't. There's not a whole lot of helmets. There's a couple decent ones. Genji helmet's one of them, but there's helmets don't really do a whole lot for you.
And not for the amount of time it will take to get through the running to the end of that train.
More good music. I love Zozo's music. That's a dead Sabin.
Wow.
This makes this so much more entertaining.
I mean, I have to do something to keep me entertained walking up those stairs.
And then at first, when you first do it, they like peek back at you and change their face. Ah. So the thieves' town of Zozo, where everybody lies. And apparently they lie about their appearance too. As you travel up all the way, this is one of the infamous walk of shames that you can do, because you walk all the way to the top, and if you can't warp out, you have to trek back down. Ooh, speaking of helmets that are fun, the cat hood.
Best helmet in the game.
Yep, it's definitely what people look for. It's going to make it so that you get the max amount of gold from every fight that you're in, whatever the max amount is, you will get it, and it also has very good defensive abilities.
Yes, I always forget all of them because it has elemental abilities that I can never remember because there's so many.
Really?
Hi, Goddess.
Huh. Your faith is just unwavering.
Oh, that's not good.
Oh, plasma.
Not great. Not healing. So that being one of those scale elements, she just throws a water edge. Not something you normally would see. Well, I guess that's over now.
we've gotten good at taking on Goddess in the Seed.
I think so.
I'm considering taking the Excaliburs to the Colosseum just to see what I can get for them.
Be a sign. Yeah, sorry, chat. If you missed it, there was another goddess. And... Ooh.
That's pretty.
I like the red.
There we go. That is an Esper.
Wow. Bolt 3, Flare, Life 3, and something else. I forget the other one, but those three are pretty great. And it did have a level up bonus. I don't believe it was any good, but it had one.
Speed +2.
Oh, it was speed. Oh, good. Take that. I guess
Life 3 is good because that's going to give us calmness protection, and if we don't find anything else.
Oh. Quick save before taking a ride on the river?
Yeah, why not? There's very little, I think, right now that can actually challenge me, so I'm going to say that out loud and make the game prove me wrong.
Are we hoping to just have a statue river as well?
Would you put it past me? I mean, I rolled this seed.
It's true.
Magic Master at the end of it, let's have some fun.
Yeah, wow, I didn't say that. Ugh.
Ooh, that's not a random enemy. At least it's not. You can't be in a pincer attack. This would normally be a pincer attack.
Ooh, it's strong.
I will say, if you do like what you see, you can come join us. We hold regular races, events. We're holding a tournament right now that we're doing just the qualifiers for. That was a lot of XP in the middle of that. Tasty.
Eat.
I hope it's okay if I just quickly plug our website is ff6wc.com. I'm sure I'll get someone in my ear telling me don't do that again if they don't want me to. But feel free to join us. We love having new people come and play with us, and we love showing it off. And let's see if we can raise a little bit more money for Save the Children. We've been stuck at 243 for a while. I want to see that number go up.
Yeah, we've got plenty of incentives that we definitely want to hit. Entrance randomizer always intrigues me, so if we can make that happen, that would be awesome. So we'll have entrance randomizer in this randomizer.
How about this? I have fought 3 goddesses and 1 doom thus far. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that's right.
I will donate $5 for every statue boss that I fight, including those 4. Will anyone in chat match me? $5 per statue fight.
Challenge has been thrown. Come on, chat.
Come on, commentators. Will you match me?
Yeah, well...
Oh, nope, that's not the way I meant to go. Oh.
You just really wanted to get more more fights with 64K experience. Nope, just some crabs. I guess that makes sense on the river.
Easy enough.
I don't know if anyone remembers, but when I played this as a kid, I seem to remember Nintendo Power saying if you just set it up so that Bannon was always doing health, you could just tape down your A button at that point and go around the river infinitely and gain as many levels as you want.
Yeah, you can get to level 99 here.
I saw a speedrunner just doing that for fun, like a couple months ago. He just left the stream up with that just loop.
I wonder if that brings everyone else's levels up once you get back to Narsh.
No, but anyone who joins after that gets affected by the level averaging.
Alrighty, probably one more fight here and then the boss.
Oh, gross. I don't like these at all.
Ugh. Yeah, these are normally from the Fanatics Tower, the magic only building, and yeah, anywhere from level 10 to 90, but yeah, it's usually not fun to see, and especially in an element scaled. I don't know what would happen with some of these.
Try and put X Zone to work here. Nice, max damage on that bolt.
And oh, hey, well,
easy.
Slide.
Just don't attack the shell. Although, even if Ravlin attacked the shell, he'd be fine. But it's dead.
Yeah. Welk is the first boss you fight in the game, so generally, but in the randomizer we have given him a couple more chances. Ooh, a Valiant knife. Well, there's something fun. Not the best, but hey.
We just got a whole lot of free XP. I mean,
yeah. So
my levels going into Kefka's Tower are not going to be an issue.
What are you, like 40 right now?
I am 49. My bigger issue is that I'm at 5 and 6 out of 7 and 10. So we're going to do a sweep through Narsh here.
Yeah, this is going to give us 3 checks. We're going to trigger Mog, which will do his Lone Wolf check. We're also going to hit Terra's Whelp check, like the Whelp that we just killed where he normally is, which is here at the top of town. And then also, maybe, depending on what those two kind of give us, see where we're at on whether or not we want to take Cyan.
So at this point, given that his party has 4, there's an extra character that can take that other spot, so you don't have to split up your party, which is helpful for that Kefka Narsh battle. Oh, is that Locke I saw?
At the Amaro spot, I think so.
Yeah.
It was definitely a character.
Yeah, so that's a peekable, so... wow. And there's Amaro. And oh.
Well, we know where basically all, well, the characters that we would need for requirements, we know where they all are now.
So if you do see that spot where you go into the cave up above, there's a little hole, and you see someone come out of it, that is a peekable spot for, in the World of Ruin Narsh, when you defeat the Tritok, you jump down into the caves where you normally would find Umaro, and that so will tell you if a character is there. So. And then you find Umaro in the next spot, apparently, so that worked out well.
So I will also say Umaro is level 45. If I can get anyone to donate $10, I'll kick someone out of my party and use Umaro for the rest of the game instead.
I don't even think you have any like the really good relics to put on him either.
There was a Blizzard Orb available somewhere for sale. I don't remember where, though.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen a Rage Ring yet.
As we've talked about, this is the fun part about hitting so many shops, because you can't remember where most things were.
That's a lot of characters.
You know what? I'm going to take the character over this crystal helm. I don't
Well, you
want...
could go get that crystal helm if you wanted.
I could. I'm not. So looking at the checks I have left, I don't think I have enough checks to get the Espers that I need.
Well,
so do I take Cyan because his dream is 3 checks? Screw it, let's do it. We've got time. I'm sure that's what the organizers love to hear.
and even not. I mean, if you go up and do Tri-Talk and then grab Locke from up there, that opens up quite a few for you too.
Yeah, another part where there's just so many things happening at this point.
There's a lot of characters available in the seed fairly easily. This is one of those kind of seeds where you can kind of go do all sorts of things.
Oh, nope. I didn't time that one right at all.
So it looks like we're going to probably take a fight.
Stray cat. Wild cat.
Yeah, it's the wrong kind of cat. I'm a little sad about it.
Unfortunately, it's a pincer attack, so we can't just run away.
Oh.
Because it's just, gonna spawn right in.
Gloom shadow.
This is what happens when you miss that trick. If you take a step down as they're taking a step up, you cannot actually get an encounter with one of these folks on... And then you get this guy, too. If you're both moving, you cannot get an encounter past each other as you're moving past each other. But, here we are. I'm fighting extra battles because I missed.
Hey, more levels. There's no harm from extra battles, other than time, but we've got plenty of that.
Oh my god.
Yeah, these scullions are mean.
And you just happen to have an enemy behind you. Oh, the opposite now. You're around that.
There's a reason why I usually don't go for this particular trick. But I thought I would go for the swag, and this is what happens when I do that. Oh my... No, I hit down. No, I'm running away from this battle. No, I'm not doing it. Get out of here. Hey, look! It's another $5.
We found
There he is.
Third. And now everyone sees the spicy or fire chicken. So
Ravlin
generally,
looking for stop.
yeah. If you have stop, he is susceptible, and it becomes easier. Oh, he just flare starring you. It's no big deal.
Yes, solo target flare star on. He can do that to Realm all day long.
Oh, she has the, I believe, the red jacket on, or something. Yeah.
I don't believe we've actually... we know the story behind the MC name for Realm. And this is because she's just so savage. But in the community, we call her Murder Child because her magic power is typically through the roof and is very useful with multiple abilities.
I mean, I think this is evidenced well by the fact that she is doing 4,000 damage with an Ice 2, and Mog is doing how much with a Flare?
He's
About
trying.
the same.
He's trying. He likes to dance.
He just wants to dance.
Oh, that hurt.
The
I
Flare
got
star
some donations if we had time for that.
Absolutely.
Alright. Then I got a $10 donation from Anonymous saying, "We want Umaru," and 5 exclamation marks. So they
Make it
seem to
happen.
be very persistent about that. And I've got another $25 from Whodat42. Thanks for showing off a great randomizer. Donate towards Runner's Choice.
Yep, that's going towards the next incentive that needs to be met still. So first off, here's the Umaro. Here are the 2 characters that have been named, and now I think I'm going to take Mog so that I actually have a healing ability. Sorry, Tara, I love you, but no. Go ahead if
When
there's
you
any
have-
more.
Towards the end, when you go into your final Kefka's Tower, there are 3 parties, so having Terra already level up a little bit and having some things on her is going to be useful at some point.
This happens when you switch parties. Sometimes you switch out the person in your party with the Moogle charm and take an unintended random encounter.
Mog's just sleeping.
He's been working hard.
Yeah. Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
And the natural snow muffler, plus an Atlas armlet to boost his attack. Just let him go crazy. So for anyone who doesn't know, Umaro, the Yeti, is not controllable. He just attacks. Or sometimes just throws himself at things. So he's great though.
What?
He's very strong. Strong like Ox.
And he doesn't take damage. Like, very much at all. That snow muffler, most things are going to hit him for 1 point of damage.
Well, so far the party choice is very popular in chat with Mog and Umaro, so it's going well.
I try to make the people happy. Ooh, he's got a little higher vigor than normal at 71. That'll do.
Oh, that's going to be nice.
And let me just double check. I am at 6 Espers still. Good lord.
I enjoy that his magic power is one of the highest too.
So yeah, that's actually one of my favorite pieces of trivia about Vanilla Umaro. He has the third highest base magic power in the game after Realm and Terra. That's so that his Storm is not completely useless, because normally you cannot equip him. But as you can see here, we have changed it, so my Yeti's wielding a spear. My Yeti's better than your Yeti.
Well, thanks for the donation, Houdat. And yes, I know we have not found Strago yet, but we will try our hardest.
We are vigorously looking.
So if you see this ghost, this is the Esper Mountain. That ghost is telling you that it is not a character. Ah.
Which is ideal in our current situation.
We found Kefka, who's usually the Kefka at Narsh boss.
Nice, game over.
Ooh.
Oh, he got away. I have to go find him again.
You were so close.
I was ready on time.
All right, that is an Esper that is interesting. So one of the things I am looking for and trying to prepare for is the final Kefka battle. It is unscaled, so, you know, it's going to be the normal battle. And that battle, no matter what level you're at, can still mess you up if you're not careful. So maybe you guys want to go over some of the things that I'm looking for to take on this this final battle.
Sure. Well, along with the theme of Espers, one of the biggest things to look for is protection, and we've said it once, is calmness. They're the third stage out of the 4 in this battle. At the end of the third stage, before you ascend to the last one, calmness will hit once or twice, and it just instantly kills one of your characters who will not move on, and you'll replace them with someone most likely weaker. So there are a lot of Espers to look for. Phantom will make your party invisible, but other ones to look for. Fenrir is generally the most popular because it casts the image on everyone. Life 3, that has already been found, also popular because if you die, you'll be reborn. Obviously, you have to keep up with it, but an option. Those are generally your most popular ones.
There's also Golem. Golem is another way
That's the other one.
that you're looking for that blocks calmness. The thing about Phantom is it turns all of your party invisible to where you can't be hit by physical attacks. However, it makes you 100% guaranteed to be hit by magic attacks. So when you would use that to possibly block, hey, Vanilla Stooges.
The Vanilla Stooges in your dream.
When you would use that to block calmness, you would have to time it almost perfectly, because in that third stage of the Kefka fight, at that point, usually Sleep, the guy you're trying to kill, is casting Medio over and over again, which typically has a high rate to miss, but not if your entire party's invisible.
Merton is a spell that you can choose to cast there. I wouldn't recommend it, but...
So these are the... So we are in the... So when you try to find... Or when you have Cyan, you, in the world of... When you go to Doma, his castle, where he grew up in, when you stay in bed, he has a terrible dream, and he's invaded. And, there's Gollum. And those are the Dream Stooges. They're actually in their natural spot.
Is this even randomized?
That was one of the smoothest Stooges I've seen in a while as well. That went really easy.
So they got Gollum. Gollum, a great, obviously, for that ending, and then it has a Cure 2 on it as well. And then you see on the Dream Train, this character means it's a regular and or not a character, so it's an Esper or an item that you'll be chasing for.
Got a couple puzzles to go through in here. This was always a tricky part for me as a kid playing through casually. Was not a fan of Cyan's Dream.
I learned so much about this in playing this and watching other people play this randomizer, and that I made this. I can run through this so much faster than I did as a kid. So many things.
I just remember as a kid always going counterclockwise here and not understanding in this specific place why I wasn't progressing.
I do love the fact that Umaro does have a Magitex riding sprite.
Yeah.
Does he have? Oh, he does when you do left and right. Awesome. So this is going to be actually a spot where we're going to get 2 rewards for one boss battle. It's going to be kind of cool. The Rexel spot, because usually you'll kill Rexel, and then later on, after the battle's over, you go to the throne to get Alexander, which is the Esper that you get for killing him. Well, we get both, and you also get Cyan. So those are kind of 2 rewards in vanilla. So we get 2 rewards here for killing this one boss.
Oh. I think I'm going to count Atma as a statue-like boss and bump myself up to $30 now, because Atma is a pain in the butt.
Does this mean Guardian counts too?
Yes.
So towers.
Yeah, let's call it tower bosses.
Towers.
Yeah, well, I don't think we haven't seen Inferno yet either, so...
Atma normally hanging out in a bathroom in Kefka's tower for some reason. Or a jail cell, I guess, but there's a bathroom in it. Wow.
Yeah, rarely seen.
That was easy.
Again, I am
sailing.
a bit over-leveled at this point.
A little.
The double-edged sword of what was a slightly harder beginning game versus a slightly easier end game at this point.
Especially getting the equipment that you've gotten.
That Leet River was a big bump.
Yes.
All right. Wow. So what are we left with? There's actually not. We've gone through, I think, a good chunk of the checks. There's actually. My favorite.
We have Doma and Mount Zozo that we could do.
Doma,
well, hold on. Why?
So Palador, the Esper, allows you the ability for the entire party to jump. Palador swoops down and picks all of your characters up, and then they will all drop down onto the enemy, gaining that jump bonus. And then the other thing you can do is that, so when that Esper is summoned, in the time it takes for it to actually go into effect, everybody else can ready up their command. So after they land, their other command will also trigger. So you can get in 7 attacks for one Palador. So.
But we are technically at progression. We can go to Kefka's tower. And looks like we are. So splitting up your party, it's kind of, everyone does it kind of their own way. You know that one party, the party on the far right, number 3, has a boss before the statues that they have to be able to get through. Typically, at least myself, I'll do both the first and second party will fight one boss, and the final third party will fight 3. I'm not sure how Ravlin does it.
That is typically how I do it. I am trying to maximize the Yeti's screen time here.
You also can set up that first party is just going to be like, they don't have a chance of fighting that extra either. They're set on that one. So it's generally going to be your but you never know what you're gonna face. So, oh, the decisions with Gogo. Gogo the Mimic can take on commands from others.
Going with the old runic can always be useful if you find yourself in a sticky situation.
Like a Vomammoth in the Colosseum.
Well, that didn't seem to block Blizzard, unfortunately.
Yeah, we were just about out of a lot of those checks, so it worked out well. It wasn't the going through some of the not as popular ones.
Hey, look, another $5. I wanted to fight the extra boss just in case.
A vanilla Atma.
That brings me up to what, 35?
Yeah,
I think so.
every statue once, Atma twice, and then 2 extra goddesses. Oh yeah.
Can I get a quick check on the incentive for the Yakuza minigames?
I do not have the other $25 accounted for yet, but without those, we are at 67 out of $100.
All right. So once I finish my run, I'll.
Oh, actually, never mind. It did get added yet already. So this is already including the 25.
Okay. Once I finish up here, I will log in and make my promise donation, and I will fill that out first, and then put anything left over towards the next, whatever the next incentive is.
All right, looking forward to it.
Actually, would you like to take this opportunity to just remind everyone what we're raising money for?
Of course, we are raising money for Save the Children. Save the Children is one of the is a very high-rated charity, and they are helping out children all over the world. And they're doing this for over 100 years now, and in a total of 120 countries, to give children a future in that time, impacting the lives of over 1 billion children. And in 2009 alone, they reached 144 million children through their comprehensive programming and emergency response. And currently, we are standing at about $300, a bit less actually, but $100 can already supply the shelter and the essential supplies that a family in crisis needs to survive. So, yeah, if you have some money left over, please consider donating. It is all for good cause. Back to you guys.
Absolutely.
Oh, gross.
Ah, there he is.
Okay, I've been looking for him.
I don't
This
know
is
what
the-
he's gonna do at this point.
This is the boss that's normally at the top of Fnatic's tower. Almost every time you hit him, his vulnerability and wall change is going to happen. What he is able to absorb or nullify is going to randomize, and it just makes the fight really difficult.
He also has incredibly high physical defense, so as you can see, Umaro's not really making a dent into him, but the helpful thing is that Flare is non-elemental, so his wall change doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that's not going to affect it. The other way that you can make this fight super easy is if you've got Berserk on hand. If you have Berserk on hand, you make it so that Magimaster can't even use wall change.
Umaro, though, his weapon did not do anything. He threw himself and did 7,000 damage, so...
You get tackled by a Yeti and tell me it doesn't hurt.
Yeah, that's true. A Yeti to the face is gonna do it damage.
I mean, I think that will get you through most any problem in Final Fantasy VI if you just throw a Yeti at it hard enough.
Well, one boss down as he trekked through.
Still have 4 left before the final sequence.
Checking almost every treasure chest just to see if there is anything good in treasure chests for this seed.
So far, there just hasn't been, and I'm a little disappointed.
There has not. This has been one of the weirdest loot treasure chest seeds.
So I believe the setting for this one was shuffle plus 30% random, which just means that we took the regular treasure chest pool, we shuffled them all together and redealt them out, but 30% of those chests were replaced with completely random contents, which in this case turned out to be tonics and dirks, apparently.
Well, and we did 30. You did 30% for both shops and chests, and we really haven't seen much in either, which has just been surprising.
Yeah, that Aura Lance I think was like the biggest prize out of all of them. So.
I didn't see any rods.
Yeah. I mean, there were obviously more shops, but yeah, usually you'll find at least one, so. I guess it just said, I like statues instead.
Well, we're still working with a really good time. We're moving up to the statues right around that hour and a half mark. I mean, that's a good time anytime you look at it.
Yep. This was one of those seeds that just decided to be, I struggled a little bit at the very beginning, but then it opened up and started going, real jet seed here. So my estimate was not the most accurate one, and I apologize for that.
Those last 4 Espers came super quick. Luckily, with Cyan's Dream, all 3 of those were Espers.
That's another tower boss. That puts me up to 40.
Yeah, there's Inferno.
Well, we made sure we got to see all of them.
Yeah, only, I think...
Oh my good lord, that was a lot of damage.
Oof. Yeah. Oh, and there it goes. So, yeah, Inferno, both of his arms, I guess if you can consider them that, can be defeated. But you're mainly wanting to defeat that middle section. Ooh!
Ow.
Ooh, that was a nice... Yeah, so in this... With this many checks done, and just generally, he's one of the stronger ones, he's a tower boss. He's being able to inflict some damage.
Sabin's on the brink.
And the arm's back. And there's a delta.
There's the immediate petrify.
That'll do it. And yeah, as we said, just throw a Yeti at it.
Unfortunate Sabin's not going to get that XP, but at this point his XP is through the roof and he'll be fine. He's more than over-leveled.
So I can't think of many other... The only other boss that I don't enjoy seeing is the Senor Behemoth. Because at this time, with the Scaled Element, he uses some crazy spells and crazy attacks. But at this point, I feel like we're just seeing statues and tower bosses everywhere.
And then the boss that secretly takes the most time.
Let's sit and wait. Normally,
This is a...
Go.
Yeah, this is a boss that normally it's on a set clock in vanilla for a certain amount of time, and it's always that same amount of time. It's completely randomized in Worlds Collide. We don't know how long it's going to be. I think it goes up to 2 minutes, maybe. And then Rizzle Pass will show up. But until then, we either... There's a couple different avenues you could go about this. Well, actually, no, there's one avenue. You have Amaro in your party. You've got to kill everything and wait for Riz Pass to show up.
Some runners just literally go get a beverage in 2 minutes, and then just come back and then fight them. It's
one of the few nice break times that you can find in a run.
a lot of runners. Yep. If this is, especially if it's late in your run, you need to run to, some of them just run to the bathroom. It's a helpful break. It's really, could be timely.
Well, and if you don't have a Morrow in your party and you can control everybody, you can just leave one alive, and you'll usually be just fine. Sometimes these little guys can cast hit and do quite a bit of damage to you, so you can come back from your break and hopefully you're not completely dead.
Aw. I can't suplex the piranha. I'm sad now.
Suplexing, one of the better memes and just better attacks, where you pick something up and flip it upside down. You can suplex a train. I've also seen Rav suplex himself.
That's only happened a couple of times.
It does.
The self-flex.
One of my favorites is occasionally an enemy will do a ability that confuses you and you're not expecting it. And if you already have an ability queued up and it confuses you, it switches the target of that ability. So many people in our community have queued up Cleave, the level 8 sword tech, which is an instant death attack on everything on screen, or all the enemies, and then gotten confused and cleaved their own party.
F's in chat. Alrighty, so we are 1 statue down, 2 to go.
I mean, aren't we like 6 statues down?
Yeah,
well, yeah,
true.
Technically.
As soon as you get that party to that top, so the goal is to get all 3 up to those points. So usually you'll get up there and then set yourself up and get ready for that final battle. Equip things, move things around. Barely now fighting an Air Force, not especially. Air Forces can be sometimes tricky depending on where you fight, especially with this scaled element. But the level, ooh, jeez, that's shrapnel. Not fun, but generally not a horrible fight. This with the levels that are going on.
Weak to thunder, which is always nice to be able to throw at the main body. You don't have to kill the little orbs. But yeah, it is always scary with like normalize and distort stats on. You never know what he's going to throw at you.
Oh, okay. I was real nervous there. I thought I was about to take a wipe.
That was
close.
Can you double check? Did I turn on normalize and distort?
Yeah, I just checked myself. It is on.
Why don't you go ahead and tell the folks what that does, particularly to Tier 3 of Kefka? Or do you guys know what it does to Tier 3 of Kefka?
I don't know what it does to Tier 3 of Kefka specifically, but for the normalize, it takes the lower end bosses and makes them a little harder, so it's not quite a cakewalk. The random distortion, I always forget, to be honest.
It just, again, distorts their stats, but one of the bosses that gets a boost from normalize and distort stats is Girl on Tier 3. She doesn't necessarily...
Has more than 9999 health?
Yep.
Yes, the HP part. Yeah.
Up to like 27,000. That can be a problem. Because you have to do, what, 15, 16,000 before she stops healing for 10,000 every time she Pearl wins?
Yeah.
Not a problem, an obstacle. You'll be fine.
And on top of that, Girl absorbs elementals, so it means you... I mean, when you don't... If you have, like, flares and whatnot, that helps. But sometimes in a seed where you are a elemental user, it does not help things, because she will really mess you up. Well, Hydon didn't stand much of a chance.
I am... Well, I'm very glad that I did not kill the Haydn Knights because his Grand Train is at this point very likely to be replaced by Fallen
Ultima.
One, Goner, or Ultima.
True.
None of which I want to see.
Alrighty, one left, and then we are on to the final 4 tiers.
Nope, that was the last one.
Level 66.
Oh, that sped past me. I didn't even see you do the first one. Oh.
The first one was Piranhas.
Piranhas, and then Air Force.
Air
and then
Force,
Air
that's
Force
right.
was that one in there. So yeah. Onward. So now we let Kefka do a little bit of a show, and then set the order. So you have to set an order of everybody in your party. So the first 4 will go in, but yes, if you lose someone in between levels, they'll get replaced by the next person on the list. So a lot of strong characters, though, which is super helpful. One of the things in this, and it's one of the options that didn't always exist, and you can turn it off. But when the characters join, they started at average level. You can change that to not have it, and they'll start very low level, which is very hard. And then late game, they become very, very hard to work with.
Alrighty, so there is a method to the madness here. There is definitely strategy in this final fight. Going over this first phase here, you have the head, you have the long arm on the left, and the short arm on the right. The long arm is susceptible to instant death like Doom, X-Zone, and Break. The head you're going to want to kill before the short arm. So in other words, you want to kill the long arm with some instant death ability, get rid of the head, and then kill the short arm. Reason for that is if the head is the last thing standing, it will cast a very high magic power quake, and the long arm will start casting like vacuum waves and stuff at you, doing a high amount of damage.
Yep. So, not obviously, the beginning of the fight, not the worst, but if you do have the order wrong, that quake can really take some and knock out somebody, and then you'll move up a tier, and now your fight has become very different from what you planned at the beginning.
There we go. That one went pretty much textbook.
Do we have time for donation?
Yep.
Alright, I get a $13 donation by Belara saying, if everybody spends $1 for the amazing Yakuza Ishin minigame showcase with the best Yakuza minigames ever made. Everybody spent $1 for the amazing Yakuza Ishin minigame showcase with the best Yakuza minigames ever made. Did you know that it was the best Yakuza minigames ever made, and that it's an amazing Yakuza Ishin minigame showcase? Just wanted to put that out there again. Back to you guys.
Well, all right. Ooh.
All right, so
go for it. Yeah.
the method here, so we're using X-Zone. That is another instant death ability to kill the one in the middle. So there's 4 here. There's the guy on the left, the little red person in the middle, the blue guy on the right, and then the tiger head. Instant death ability to the red one in the middle. You can mute the guy in the back on the left, because all he's going to do is cast magic. You've got the blue guy, who is a physical attacker, very strong physical attacker, and then the tiger head, which can do a whole lot of abilities that can petrify you and really freeze you and do a lot of things you don't like. So typically, I personally, and this is one where you don't have to do it in any sort of order. This is however you're comfortable with downing these guys.
And then we are starting to see the effects of Palador. We have lots of jumping, lots of attacking, lots of people missing, and then it helps when you have somebody with a dragon horn, and also that we have multi-summon, so you can keep using it.
Just breaking it.
So I believe, I know, for most people I see, Tiger tends to be one of the first ones because his attacks are very strong. Tools is that red in the middle, but that instant death was helpful. The only other thing that is generally done, if you can get the siren or at least a mute, is mute that magic user, and it's gonna make a lot easier. But having Palador helps, because when you're in the sky, they don't hit you.
Yeah, this is my way of avoiding the fact that I don't have mute.
Do you have an economizer on Realm 2, so every time she casts Palador, it's only 1 MP?
No, I don't. That would have been smart.
Oh, okay.
Oh, all right. Well, that was quick. And then 2 of them are still in the air.
The nice thing about having 2 people still in the air is they're going to come down, they're going to have priority before anything else. So they're going to hopefully get some damage in, one of which is Venny, who's got the dragon boots and the horn. Might be able to get Girl out here, depending on what her HP is.
So that is Girl floating in the background that we've been chatting. Oh, whirlwind. Oh, that wasn't that bad.
Luckily, it has a high chance to miss, but it takes you down to like a very small percentage of health.
There's another way to miss on calmness, is to just be in the air. So someone has to be on the ground, but
yeah.
Oh, well. Rip.
That's not. Oh.
Oh.
There goes Palador strats.
Well.
You know, it was 75% effective at protecting my party against calmness.
Yeah. Someone in chat says that's. I think Umaro's the main character right now.
Yeah. So who comes up? I don't even remember. Who is the next in line? Tara. Ah. She did get booted.
Well leveled.
So she's back.
I hope that did she equipped?
Yes.
She was equipped with something from just being in the tower, I think. So Kefka. So final battle. So that distort is going to be a little off, but generally you're looking at that 66,000 damage. So you can keep track because it does help. But he uses high level attacks. Obviously, Fallen 1 here puts everybody at 1 HP. But a Mega Elixir is real quick to put that right up.
Counter.
Oh. Now main character
That's all right.
down.
That's the main character down.
Nope, getting the Yeti back up.
There we go.
So the big key for this is to get him, once you're, at this point, the end comes beyond chaos. He's going to start charging. So nothing's happening here. Just start going at him, because he's going to come back at you with Goner, which, if you're lower level, is something to be worried about. This level, generally not. But you're just going to keep. Well, at this point, you got to make sure Amaro doesn't die.
But Kefka can't counter while the screen's shaking.
Yeah.
So you want to really unload there. Hey, Edge stream with the raid. Thank you.
Was that enough? It was. Time.
Congratulations. Good game, Ravlin.
Thank you. Whew.
So under 2 hours, always a goal, something to look forward to. So GG's on that.
Thank you, and I appreciate you guys spending the evening with me. I also appreciate, everyone here in the chat. I appreciate the opportunity to be here at SpeedCon. Thank you so much. And I believe I now owe, $35 or $40 to Save the Children that I'm going to go donate and hopefully meet some incentives. And I apologize for going a little bit more under my estimate than I was actually expecting.
It's always hard to gauge with a randomizer.
More kind at times than others where you're constantly running into those dead checks, but yeah, that's what's going to happen.
I mean, we could get towards our time with this like 20-minute ending cutscene.
Yes, this is true.
All right, then. Thank you very much for showing us this run.
Our pleasure.
I do not know what we are currently doing, but I guess we will be switching to an intermission now, and we'll be back after probably a bit of a longer intermission. Yeah, we'll probably start with Yakuza Ishin after a bit of a longer intermission. Stay tuned.